Good evening, everyone. It's Dr. Malaika, and this is Transformation Tuesday for Tuesday, October the 31st, 2017. It is Halloween Tuesday, and I thought it was appropriate that since today is a day that we wear costumes and we dress up, I thought it would be appropriate for us to talk about the mask that we wear. So I hope that something that is said today that will be helpful for you and will help you examine yourself and look at just the things that we do to portray ourselves a certain way to those outside of us that is not actually accurate to who we see ourselves as. We know that Halloween is a big holiday for the United States. Kids love it. They like to dress up and pretend to be someone different. If not, at least for this one day, they like to do that. Even adults really get into the spirit of Halloween. I've seen a ton of costumes online on social media today. A lot of them were very creative and very cute, but people are definitely about dressing up. The problem is a lot of us wear masks on a daily basis when it's not Halloween. And that is what I wanted to talk about, because I feel like we, a lot of times in a self-protective way, we try to portray ourselves a certain way to the outside world, hoping that that mask that we're wearing will allow people to not see what's really going on with us emotionally. And there are a lot of different things that we do. We hide behind the fear of people understanding who we are at our core, because we think that if they know who we are, they will not like us. We hide behind the debt that we have and incurred in order for people to see us a certain way with our finances, see us a certain way with material things. Sometimes we even hide around, the education that we portray ourselves to have. We hide around having a good marriage and pretending that our marriage is okay, even though we may be in a marriage that's dying. These are the masks that we wear. And this is what I wanted to address today, because I feel like this is a very dangerous place to be emotionally. This is a dangerous practice that a lot of people have. It is what is often called as imposter syndrome, where we're portraying ourselves as someone that we are not, in hopes that that will get people outside of us to like us and validate us, and hopefully that will boost our own self-esteem. And so this is a very dangerous practice to get into. They're not scary masks. These masks that we put on a daily basis, these masks that we carry to work, these masks that we carry into our interactions personally, these masks that we carry to our churches and the different places that we go. They're not scary masks like the things that we know Halloween is for. But for me, this is probably scarier than the things that we're going to see, the things that are portrayed to be considered horror films, or the things that we would see on Halloween. These masks are scary because you're not allowing yourself to be you, and you're robbing the world of seeing your authentic self, and you're not appreciating who you are. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about as far as practical reasons why shedding masks is a thing that needs to be done. You can't live your full potential. So let me just start with that. You cannot live your full potential if you're wearing a mask, if you're not being who you are, if you're not honest about who you are. The reality is we're flawed people. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make bad decisions. We're going to go into the wrong relationships, or we're going to go into a situation for the wrong reasons. But that does not have to define who you are. Those mistakes are things that we can use to help us be better in the future. But the challenge with that is a lot of times we focus on those negatives, and those negatives allow us to feel like we're inadequate, and we feel like we need to be portrayed a certain way in order for the world to accept us. And your acceptance is more so about you being authentically who you are. The reality is that when you are portraying yourself to be somebody else, it does not allow you to get to know yourself at your core. Because a lot of times when we're in this imposter syndrome, when we're portraying ourselves as someone that we're not, we start to believe who the imposter portrays themselves to be. That doesn't allow you to become self-aware. That doesn't allow you to identify who you truly are. What are your gifts? What are your strengths? Even what are your weaknesses? Because knowing what your weaknesses are can also help you to make yourself a better person and help yourself to grow. You can't be that person if you're pretending to be something else. And it's very emotionally taxing to try to always be on, always be this character that you've created, always be this person that you feel that the world expects you to be. That's a very emotionally taxing place to be. And eventually it starts to wear you down, it starts to break you down. It can start to have psychological and physical effects negatively on you. And so that's one practical reason why we need to be who we truly are and be comfortable in who we are, quirks and all. Another reason that's very practical is just the relief you get from being who you are. When you're living an inauthentic life, it really is a lot of pressure that you're carrying. It's looking over your shoulder. It's wondering when you're going to be found out. It's wondering if today is the day that the rug is going to be pulled out from up under me. Is today the day that everyone's going to figure out that I'm pretending to be this person, but I'm nowhere near the person that I portrayed myself to be? When you are really being who you are, even with all the flaws, even with figuring out and making yourself a better person, there's a relief and a comfort in being able to just be you. It's almost as if you can breathe because you don't have to worry about putting things together and orchestrating things in a way that you think is the best portrayal for the world to see. When you're just being you, there's just an ease and a comfort that comes with that. And you'll notice that people who are their authentic selves, who are comfortable in who they are, you notice that they just have an easiness about themselves. They're happier. You notice that they go through life, even when things are not always going the way they want them to. You notice that when they go through life, there's just a different relief that they carry. That is one of the greatest things that you can give to yourself. That's one of the greatest gifts that you can give to yourself, because you're releasing yourself and allowing yourself to be free, and you're allowing yourself to grow and develop the way you should, not into a manufactured product, but into who you are authentically. And so relief is one of those things that you should want to have in life. You should want to be able to feel free and comfortable in being who you are. Another reason that not wearing a mask or getting rid of the mask that we wear is it allows you to heal. When we're wearing these masks and covering up who we are, covering up the things that we don't want people to know about us, when we're putting ourselves in a public perspective of what we think people expect of us, that does not allow us to heal the wounds that we have. And I've talked in past Transformation Tuesdays about the fact that no one lives a life without things happening that are not always positive. Bad things happen, tragedies happen in life. Some people experience traumas. We're going to all go through things that are not always positive, things that are going to be negative and that will impact us in a way to where we're wounded. When you're wearing a mask and you're not being honest and you're not being authentic, you're not allowing yourself to actually heal those wounds that you've occurred over your life. Wearing a mask covers things up. It's almost as if you put a Band-Aid on a sore, and a lot of times if you talk to people, they say Band-Aids initially are a good thing to put on a sore, but a lot of times it's better to let things breathe, let the air hit it, because the air is what allows the skin or that wound to actually start to go through the process of healing up. It scabs up and it allows it to regenerate and to become better. The same thing with you emotionally. When you're covering things up and you're not allowing things to come to light and you're not allowing things to come out, you're not allowing that thing to go through emotionally the natural process of what we have. The repressing of things is not going to stop it from going away. The reality is it still happened. The reality is you still have these feelings and these emotions. And just because you cover them up with the mask that you wear, just because you try not to talk about them, does not mean that that went away. It does not mean that you don't still have these issues that you need to deal with and these feelings. And so when you are not wearing a mask and when you take your mask off, it opens yourself up for healing, which is really important, because it's never about the fact that you're not going to go through bad things. It's about going through those things. It's about healing those wounds that are caused, and it's about building a resilience. I often say that resilient people are able to bounce back from things, but resilient people are not people that never go through anything. I'll say that again. Resilient people are people who are able to bounce back from things, but resilient people are not people who don't go through anything. In order for them to become resilient, they had to go through something. So just because you went through it doesn't mean it has to cripple you, doesn't mean it has to wipe you out. You don't have to be devastated. You can learn from those things. You can heal from those things and move forward a better version of yourself. So taking your mask off will allow you to do that. The other thing is you have to realize is that we're not born with masks. We don't come into this world pretending to be something that we're not. That is not how we were made. We come into the world raw and authentic and being who we are. And as we go through life experiences, the more negative things happen, the more negative messages that are fed into us, the more we are conditioned into believing that we need to be a certain way. That is when we start to put on these masks and start to carry these weights. And so what you're trying to do with pulling these masks off, what you're trying to do is allow yourself to go back to being the authentic version of yourself. You'll never be that pure version of you that was first born, that didn't know anything about the world, that was not jaded through life, that never had any bad experiences. You'll never be that person. The reality is you've had your life experiences and they've shaped you into who you have become. But what can happen is you cannot allow them to alter who you are. You can allow them to be life lessons, but not allow them to alter who you are. You don't have to allow the fact that you had a bad relationship or you had a bad marriage change your view on love. Just because that relationship didn't work out does not mean that love is not necessarily for you. What are you going to do to learn from that situation in order to be better in the future? That is the question you have to ask yourself. Yes, you went through a tragedy. Yes, you lost a loved one. Does that mean that you're not going to allow yourself to get close to people because of the possibility that that person could leave? They could leave tragically. They could walk away from you. You do not have to allow yourself to be isolated and put on a mask saying that I don't need love or that's not for me simply because you've been hurt or wounded in the past. You can allow yourself to learn from those experiences, be more resilient because of those experiences, and move forward from those points and allow yourself to be a better version of yourself. The one thing I do believe in is the power of change. A lot of times we fight against change, but the reality is change is a good thing. Change is what allows us to continue to live. Change is what allows us to continue to be. If we don't change, if we don't go through the stages of development that we go through as part of our life, we will die. The fact is, if you don't adapt, if you don't adjust, if you don't change, you will die. So change is not something to be looked at as a negative. Change is positive, and you have to be able to embrace the power of change. Embrace the fact that these experiences that I've gone through have changed me. Yes, they may not have all been positive experiences, but I can find the positive in them in order for me to adjust and change in a positive way. Don't allow the roadblocks to stop you. That is probably one of the final tips that I will give you tonight, is don't allow the roadblocks to stop you. It's really important that just because things happen, that you don't allow them to stop you. You don't allow them to make you alter yourself. You don't allow them to second guess yourself in order to adjust to be this person that you believe people want you to be. The reality is people will accept you more as you being your authentic self, as flawed as you are, than they will with this manufactured version of yourself. They will ask you, well, who are you really? Because I can't figure out who you are trying to be, because it's so hard to try to maintain the mask that you put on that people pick up on when you're not being authentic. So the last thing that I'll leave with you is the fact that when you pull off your mask, you're allowing yourself to be free and to breathe and allowing the world the gift of getting to know you. Other people are taken. You can only be the best you. There's a poet, E.E. Cummings. He said, the greatest battle that we face as human beings is the battle to protect our true selves from the self the world wants us to become. That is a battle that we constantly have to fight. And the reality is that we should never allow what we think the world expects us to be to win that battle. We have to continue to be our true and authentic selves, because we are blessing the world when we allow ourselves to be that. Remember that you hold gifts that the world needs. You hold abilities that the world needs. Your presence is what the world needs. And if you rob the world of that, we're not getting as full, as blessed of a world or an experience as we could have. So I'm going to stop here, and I just want to remind you, continue to be yourself, continue to start to shed off those masks, continue to start getting more comfortable in being who you are, and don't feel like you have to continue to put on a show or put on a mask or pretend to be a version of yourself that is not authentic. Authenticity goes a long way. Remember, you can find me on social media. I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and the handle is Dr. Malaika Speaks. I am also on YouTube. My YouTube channel you can subscribe to is Transformation TV with Dr. Malaika. You can find me online on my website. My website address is malaikambrown.com, and it's spelled Malaika. And until next week, you will be looking for, in the next week, you'll be seeing a special commercial for what Transformation Tuesday will look like in the month of November. And I'm really excited about it. So I'll look forward to that. You will be seeing that coming out on Thursday, letting you know what the month of the month of November will look like for Transformation Tuesday. I think that it will be something that will definitely help a lot of people, and I am very excited about it. So until we meet again, have a happy Halloween, and make sure that you take care of yourself and take care of your loved ones. God bless you.